Yeah, yes, sir. All right, man. We got the tradition. We got our threes. We got our twos. We got our ones. And that means the Say Something show is back in the building.
Yes,
Green
sir.
lights are on. Mics are on. Benny's here. Mitch is here. Let's get it going.
Mm-hmm.
Before anything, we got our check-ins as we always do. Take time, please. You're with somebody. Look to your left. Look to your right. Do a check-in. If you have time, get on that phone. Send a quick text. You never know when it might make that difference. But Mitch, how you doing? How's everything going? Let the people know.
Whew. Good to be back. Went on a little hiatus. Was out of here for a while, but good to be back. A little bit tired, man. Work's been kicking my butt, as well as just doing extracurriculars. Old man trying to still be active.
Right.
It's hard on the body. It only gets harder. So I'm glad to be back here, sitting down, relaxing a little bit. Ready to do some talking about these sports. A lot been happening since we've been out of here, so I'm ready to get to it. I'm ready. I'm awake now. I've been getting some bad sleep, so I'm ready to go. But I'm ready. I'm ready to go to sleep after this.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
for
absolutely.
Sure. How you doing, man? How you holding up?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You know, it's been a hectic couple months. You know, as you guys have known, just with the school, the internship business, hitting the ground running with that second semester. And so things are starting to slow down a little bit. I was able to select my second year internship, which was exciting after going through some rigorous interviews. And, you know, I feel like I totally got the hang of things at my first year internship. And I'm doing pretty good at balancing school as well. Trying to keep it all in focus. But it's been good. I'm on spring break now, which is a
Let's
nice
go. Party time.
Party time. Come on. Take a shot now. I'm just playing. But you know, kind of. But like it does feel great to have that refreshing breath in after kind of, you know, go.
Yeah.
But you know, unfortunately, some of that go leads to us missing out on wonderful sports action and updating the Say Something fam. So apologies on that, but that just, you know, brings me full 360 to just my excitement, full 180 actually, because at 360 you'd be right back where you were. A 180 in terms of just why I'm so excited to be here today and get going on what we got. So let's jump into what we got. And first on the agenda for today, we have the NBA.
Let's go.
We like to start off there. We like to start off near home. And when there's home cooking, we might as well start there. So NBA, Warriors stay hot. We're still in business. We're rising up the rankings. We did give up a couple wins here in this Jimmy era.
Yeah.
So I would say some kind of Dudley teams, some Jared Dudleys.
Denver without Jokic.
Yes, sir. And then what was it? Who was the other one that was up?
We lost to the Sixers back a while ago for no reason.
Just nasty. And Dallas.
And Dallas.
Which was all that was just.
Those are the only 3 losses, though, since Jimmy's been here.
100%. And we've had some great wins. So and a couple have been without Steph.
Right.
And so we've had Kuminga now return, which has been phenomenal. I mean, he's out there flying around, looks happy to be back, looks excited to play alongside Jimmy, like we said.
Speaking of that, without Steph, the Warriors are 7-3 without him. So things have been looking pretty good. Not saying we don't want him out there. We always want Steph out there. But hey, it's a good sign when we're 7-3.
Yeah, especially when you got guys like Kuminga coming back, Pods, who's in form
Stepping
now,
up.
You know, and then the guy we've been shouting out for many shows here, Quentin Post and Moses Moody.
Quentin Post out there wedding. He seems like the only one who goes and shoots with Buddy Hield and Steph Curry because he's just wedding everything. My boy Moses Moody, like you said, though, and them corner threes.
Bro, and like the emotion from the second round pick where it's like, yo, dude is, you know, at that last game we were down 7. He's pumping the crowd up. I think that was one of the biggest turning points to me, and just seeing the way the rest of the team was kind of reacting like, you know, wow, that's a dude we're not expecting at all to even say a word, let alone really like put something down and say it with his chest.
Got some confidence.
Woo! The guy is
QP,
gelling.
Baby. QP.
Yeah, he's gelling.
He brings the pack.
Yeah, he's bringing the post, man, to check your mail. He's dropping it off. But yeah, so it's exciting. And, you know, I think that at the end of the day, this is why you trade for Jimmy, right?
Yeah.
But that brings me around to what has just happened and occurred in the same game that Quentin Post was pumping up that we were able to overturn at that, you know, kind of crucial point where it looked like, honestly, the game could get away. We were down 7. And at multiple points in the game, it was like, guys, are we going to wake up here? We were
Which
down
is
the majority of the
pretty
game.
normal during these games.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like we're dominating every game. There's a lot of times
for
where
sure.
we'll go up by like 15, but
Yep.
by the time it's the end of the third quarter, we're up by like 2, or the other team is taking a lead.
Yeah.
So it gets alarming sometimes, but it's been really refreshing to see them pull it out at the end of the game.
Yeah, because that was also something that was never happening.
Yeah.
And I think if that's one thing we've also spotlighted this entire time, it's like that's why you get Jimmy. Is in these moments where we've been in the most clutch games all season. Clearly, I guess we're just going to stay there. And so let's at least get a guy that loves the clutch.
Yeah.
And that will go to the line, knows how to do it in different ways. Whereas now it seems like all of a sudden, all the Warriors know how to shoot free throws.
Yeah.
Huh? That's weird, because we were looking the whole time going, you don't have a broke jumper. What is wrong? What's going on here? And the only guy that, thank God, is now not having to go to the line at all, and who I still think is probably a bit sussy, is Pot. But everybody else, I mean, we're talking about is now at the line with semi-frequency, even Draymond, and they're shooting well. But I just want to ask, so what do you think? Obviously, you pointed out a little bit, 7-3 without Steph. We don't know how long it's going to be. Obviously, that was a foul too. I don't need to go too far into it, but I don't know what a foul is if that's not. I mean, he's getting hit in midair.
He's one of the biggest stars ever, I feel like, who has not been benefited with a bunch of foul calls. Like, I feel like half the time he's getting thrown around out there. There's like, oh, well, yeah, it's because you're little, bro, so that's why it's happening to you, instead of like, no, it's actually a foul.
Right. And it's like, so we're now like going to go his whole career.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know we've been saying this for hella long.
Yeah.
And then I know we all kind of got to the point where it was like, all right, cool, but the league will figure it out.
Right.
And now Stephen Curry's 37. Okay? Not a lot left to go.
Also, it's because in those moments we were going to the playoffs and we were one of the teams. So it's like, he is one of the guys. Why are you never giving him foul calls?
Right.
I mean, we were always going up against LeBron. And so it's just like, well, LeBron's getting 15, 20 calls a game.
And it's built like Thanos.
Yeah. And so, it's just always something that's been on our minds as Warrior fans is like, how does this guy not get more foul calls? There's no way the way he's moving around, he only can shoot 5 free throws a game, 6 free throws a game. He's doing too much. Guys are going to the hospital after games.
Yeah.
Like they've talked about in the stories.
Yep. Telling
me this guy's not getting hacked the whole time?
Right. Right. And especially at this age now, too, it's like when you watch that play exactly, it's like, so now you're just not protecting our players. I mean, because guys, no, that's 2 guys hitting him in midair. One that is basically waist level and the other one that's getting him chest high.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it's like if they think that they can do that, then they are going to. And so, of course, you have 2 large wings. And, I think a younger Steph might have bounced up, but, like, he hit that floor hard. So what I'm asking is, what do you think we can take as a silver lining from this injury, right? Like, how can the Warriors actually benefit from it, albeit we're losing our star? And, what do you think in terms of a realistic nature of his return can we be expecting? Like, what kind of timetable are you guessing?
I have no idea. I haven't heard nothing since I saw the injury.
It's a contusion. So we got news that it's a back contusion, which is not like any structural. it's like bruising.
No, okay.
Yeah, so it's gonna be it's no structural, but like,
so what is it gonna be out for a week or 2 or something like that? Maybe I don't know. I guess it goes down to how the team's doing at the end of the day.
True.
Like if Pajimski and Jimmy Butler are handling the offense like they need to, guys like Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga are showing up to help support them, and then also you get the great performances from Quinn Post continuing to happen. I think we can really, continue to win games without Steph and maybe give him a chance to rest up even more heading into the playoffs. And guys like Buddy Hield can step up and be the guys that make the threes all the time. Draymond, crazy. He had, 6 threes, 5, 6 threes
crazy
last game. He's trying to show out. I mean, we need more of that. That's what it's going to take for us to win. Like, we can't kind of coast. There's no coasting into this. We don't have the kind of teams like we've had in the past with KD and all the stars and Klay Thompson and those guys. We got to be on point 1 through 10. All our guys got to be on point. So as long as they continue to produce when they're out there and it doesn't become a lull and we don't start missing all our shots, because that's really the only way we go down, is if we just have a terrible shooting night. And with Jimmy Butler now, we've been able to be defensively like good against these other teams to keep the games from getting too far away from us whenever we do give up leads or we do let the game get away from us a little bit. So I think having Jimmy has really helped us get over the hump anytime we're having a lull, whether it be offensively or defensively. And I think the emergence of guys, along with Jimmy Butler's guidance, along with like having our young guys all getting better and producing and showing their stuff, I think that's been great, as well as Gary Payton showing out for us every single game. Best 6'3" center in the league.
Man.
So, I mean, it's just a whole culmination of a bunch of different things happening for the Warriors, where before in the past it was like, we got the talent, so we're good. Now it's like, okay, now we're building, and that kind of vision that maybe the guys in the front office saw before, where it's like, let's mesh the old with the new, is kind of, the flowers are blooming from that now. It's finally showing some kind of progress, whereas like the last few years have kind of just been Dudley's.
That's a good point. Finally, we're seeing a good overlap with the player sets that we have, where it's like they're coming into their own on both ends of like, I think Steph is finding kind of a second prime and figuring out how to continue to extend his career. And finally, we're seeing, like you said, Moses, some of our young guys come into who they are. So that's a super good point.
And
there
shouts out to Guy Santos, man.
Hustle guy.
Hustling the whole time.
It's the boy.
Extra rebounds, key threes in moments, man. So shouts out to Guy Santos. I know you're not going to get too much shout out there, but
Brazilian Rodman, dude.
The Warrior fans know, they see it.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing is, I think, Jimmy Butler is really taken over point guarding in those last like 5 minutes of games, and so much less turnover.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like now that Draymond is just throwing it right to Jimmy, just give it to Jimmy. Let Jimmy make the decision. It's just like we also are slowing possessions down. We're able to play in a multitude of different ways that I don't think we're always capable of, that really comes in handy down the stretch of like, this is how we're going to close out. So I guess before we move on from the Warriors, I would ask, in light of the Steph injury and in light of what you said about us being 7-3 anyway, what do you think our ceiling is in terms of finishing out in the West?
In the West, let's see. Where are we in the standings? We're 6. Are we 6 right now?
I think we're 6, yes.
We're the 6th seed, 2 behind the Memphis Grizzlies, 3.5 behind, or 2.5, 3 behind the Lakers. I mean, realistically, I feel like we can be pushing for the 5th seed. I think we've been blessed to have a good schedule right now. The teams that we've been playing haven't been too many heavy hitters, but moving forward, if we can continue to have an easy schedule, I think it's something where we can come out of this and damn near get close to 50 wins.
Yeah.
I think we really could, and it'd be even more helpful if the team is doing it without Steph, so Steph can rest, because we're going to need about 40-plus minutes when it comes to the playoffs every single game. And we're going to need playoff Jimmy, so we're going to need to keep him in there, keep him getting minutes, keep him getting acclimated with everybody, so that when the Steph isn't in the games, he can take over and be playoff Jimmy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think 5-4, 4-5, whatever you want to call it. I think both those are in play. I think that every team is an injury away from dramatically dropping in the standings. Us included, of course. And so, the one thing that I'll be interested to see is, hopefully this is a semi-short-term injury for Steph. But, I think that with how many guys we have right now who are playing high-end ball, and with Kuminga coming back, and with Jimmy showing he can play the point, I'm kind of intrigued to see what the lineup would look like with basically all wings. And like, that's what I'm pretty sure we're going to employ. And maybe a little pod sprinkled in there, or I'm pretty sure deploy, excuse me, not employ, but I'm pretty sure we'll deploy that out onto the court. And, to me, even if you add pods in there who's like a heavy rebounding guard, it'd be interesting to see what that lineup looks like. And especially if we're going to be really playing with the idea of where do we get, positive outcomes from without Steph on the court in the playoffs, which we're going to need. I'd love to find that lineup. where we truly feel like, all right, this is the one where if Steph is going to be out, we can get it done.
Also, talking about what you brought up the last time we were here, do you think Taron Armstrong is going to make an appearance at all, or is he just going to be somebody we stash and maybe deploy next year?
Yeah. I think that play was I think it's most likely a long-term play in terms of next year because I think that they're expecting, as usual, we tend to have guys who we play up and then they get a contract that we were never gonna pay anyway. But I think that we're always the type of squad where, like, if he's gonna start killing in Santa Cruz, we'll give him a look. And again, like I said, at a quick glance, he's Josh Giddey-ish, and that's something that we would never be mad at.
Right.
A team like us who we're going to have an abundance of shooters. We're going to have an abundance of scoring when we're right. And we never turn down a good playmaker, especially a playmaker with some size, IQ, all of that. And he seems to have a little more of a scoring plus. I mean, that's only on tape. Obviously, Josh Giddey's in the NBA, was the 7th overall pick. This is a guy who's coming into with a 2-way contract. So take everything with a grain of salt. But, yeah, if I were to answer in terms of this year, I'd say no. I don't think we'll see him this year unless he goes crazy.
Yeah.
But Bronny's playing for the Lakers, and he's actually served, he served last game, 17, I think, career high. But like the way I could see it happen is if we just have a night off, kind of like the Lakers just did, where they just sat. Everybody was injured. Everybody was injured. Excuse me. Nobody sat. Everybody was injured. But like I could see that for us. Like I could see him coming up and getting that moment and us having that cheering moment. And
him and Pat Spencer playing
Pat
together.
Spencer and Knox.
Kevin Knox.
Because the reality is Pat Spence is up there a lot.
Yeah. All time. And at all times.
And so, if
primed for his GM, front office position when he's done, he's gonna be in there. He's with the boys.
And I'm rocking with him too. Like his game is way better than I thought it was.
He plays basketball like a lacrosse player.
Right. But he'll always have the moments where you're like, all right, like.
Nah, he's sauced.
Yeah, like you're a hooper. I wasn't.
That's why your little brother got game when he was at UConn.
100%, and he's on the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
But to Mitch's point and to why we're laughing, if he's there though every game, then we could easily see Taron Armstrong.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like in terms of playing, like Pat Spence actually still gets.
Yeah, he's good.
Some tick. I'm like, what the? Like I'm like pretty surprised at how much tick he gets though. I am like. He's in again. All right. Like, but he's never like overly letting me down. But there's times, obviously, defensively where they're just gonna go at him.
Give me the ball. Yeah, I got Spence on me. Give me the ball.
Lacrosse. But yeah, so I don't think so. But I mean, like, I wouldn't put all my money on it, and I'm hoping.
Basically, if he did, he'd be balling, going crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it'd be great. That's what I'm saying. I'm hoping that he proves me wrong. All right, on to NCAA March Madness, sticking to the hoops. Obviously,
type of dandies, baby.
Man, if you have been under a rock, this has started this amazing tournament that goes on every year that probably holds some of the most drama that any professional, non-professional, amateur, whatever you want to call this sports event can offer you. So many upsets every year, so many brackets that are created, no brackets that are correct. This year, it seems like it's the exact same after, pretty much 3 matchups had gone by. It was already down to like, 15% of brackets or something, some joke, 26%, something like that.
Don't think anybody saw McNeese beating Clemson.
No, exactly. And cooking them. I mean, Clemson had, I think, 15 at half or something. I mean, it was atrocious. Ended up actually coming back, but yikes. So
Tar Heels, big guy.
Yeah, man. Tar Heels snuck in, really got pretty lucky last in, and were able to put a pretty good spanking in their little play-in game, and then went down too big today, and then tried to make a late comeback, and it just was not enough. But again, this was a team that was overachieving a bit, and Ole Miss, I thought we could still take them, but reality is, that team, is in the SEC, I think, which is the strongest this year, the strongest hoop, the conference that there is. And so they said, no, that's not true. Y'all ain't ready. But yeah, so there's a lot going on. I'll take a quick peek at the bracket right now just so we can, see some good matchups. Obviously, I think it's just easier at this point to just talk kind of about the big upsets that we've seen so far and then the teams to watch. And if there's a couple players on those teams, we'll shout them out as well. And that's kind of how we'll go through this. So you want to do the upsets first, and then I'll go into some of the teams?
Yeah, I mean, some of the minor upsets to start, just like 9s over 8s. We got Creighton beating Louisville. That one was a tough one to call. These are two like story teams who have been in the NCAA tournament over the past like 10 to 15 years recently. So that was pretty much a coin flip. That's what you get from the 8-9 games, along with Baylor, Mississippi State. Baylor is a known tournament team, whereas Mississippi State's not one to really be known all that much in terms of for basketball, but still always a quality team. Moving downwards, we had like what we talked about before. We were talking about McNeese. Yeah. McNeese beating Clemson, the 12 seed beating the 5 seed.
Yikes.
I don't know if they're going to go any further. I didn't see that game, but I mean, I know McNeese, Louisiana school. Not really known for their sports, but maybe this is their year to make that push to the Elite Eight or Final Four.
They look good.
Drake, the boys from Drake, Drake University beat Missouri. This 11 beat the 6
That's
seed.
A big upset too.
Big upset. But again, Drake is one of those schools that kind of sneak into the tournament every once in a while and make a good push. So they're nobody to sneeze at. They'll be taking on Texas Tech, a team that, every few years we'll have a good squad and we'll be able to produce and not just come in as an 8 seed, but a 3 seed this season. So that'll be tough for them. Arkansas beating Kansas was a big one. Kansas is story blue blood, but this year the boys were not up to snuff. Arkansas has a solid team. Was it Sears?
No, that's Alabama.
Oh, that's Alabama.
This is Calipari. So this
Calipari.
Is like,
this Calipari.
He's got basically all of Kentucky over there.
He's back.
DJ Wag and them.
So not really surprised with that kind of cachet at the coaching. He's always going to be recruiting well. So they're always going to have a quality team no matter where he's coaching. So those have kind of been the big upsets. Everything else has kind of gone the right way for all these teams. Colorado State.
That's the other one, yeah.
They won 12 seed versus a 5 seed in Memphis. I mean, Memphis is always a coin flip every year.
I thought they were ranked way too high.
You think they could be good, but it's probably I don't even know anymore why they have any kind of cachet to be the 5th seed, but shouts out to them. That's why you get upset, because you're really not as good as maybe the projections show. And a team like Colorado State is going to probably have a lot more seniors and maybe 5th-year guys on their team that, they're not really looking to go to the NBA. They're just really good college players. So those are the round outs of the big upsets. But all the big teams have won their games. Florida, Houston, Auburn, Duke. The 1 seeds are winning. 2 seeds are doing their thing. So not a lot of surprises, not the biggest upsets in the world, but still some quality games and some guys who can really make a splash in this year's tournament.
Absolutely. And then I would say 2 of the games that were very close to being upsets was Michigan versus UC San Diego.
Oof, that was real close.
Boy, they were down, but basically the whole game. I mean, it was down to the last second. And then also you had St. Mary's almost losing to Vanderbilt, and I thought that was done. At half, they were down pretty big. And then Alabama and Robert Morris, I don't know, they're another one of these tournament teams that when they're right, they're just not spooked to anybody. And they were said to have been a really high-octane offense, and so is Alabama, and it was 90-81. So that speaks to they were going at it, and that's Mark Sears and them. And Mark Sears is dangerous. I mean, Mark Sears could be the player of this tournament. So that takes me to just a couple teams to look out for that are just fun to watch. And I'll point out some players on those teams, that obviously make them fun to watch. Auburn, the 1 seed, the number 1 overall seed. Janai Broome probably the player of the. Actually, he was injured a little bit towards the end, so I think he may not end up getting the player of the year. I actually think it might end up going to the Duke boy,
Cooper Flag.
Cooper Flag, man. But
Cooper.
nonetheless, this dude he's a big body. He's an upperclassman. This is a dude that controls the game kind of in an old school way.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole team is very, very gritty, very physical. They are fun to watch. They beat just about everybody this year. I mean, they've had one of the toughest schedules, and they're in the SEC and finished first in the SEC, which is also the toughest conference. So they are tried and true. When it comes to this stuff, definitely take a good look at them. Michigan, to me, they're very interesting in terms of like they do have this guy Danny Wolf, and they got this dude. I think his name is Vladimir Golden. Yeah, and both of them are big dudes, 7-footers, fun to watch. They both that's their kind of like focal points of their offense and their defense. So if you like 7-footers, they're a fun team to go check out. Texas A&M, I'm not going to say nothing about them. Iowa State, if you want to check out them, they got some they got some ballers. Iowa State, is always, at least this year, been a very, very good team. They've been super, super aggressive defensively, as they usually are.
Rick Pitino, St. John's doing their thing too.
St. John's is nasty. They got Curtis Jones is on Iowa State, who's nasty, and Keyshawn Gilbert, as well as Timsley. Excuse me. So those are guys. If you're into some full court press, go give those guys a quick glimpse. Who were you just mentioning?
I was saying Rick Pitino and St. John's is
balling,
2 seed, and
balling.
Great story for this season.
Balling. RJ Lewis or Lewis, I don't know how you pronounce his name, but that dude is an absolute beast. Kadari Richmond is also on that team. He is amazing. And then they have one other dude who his name, I apologize. It starts with an E, but he's also a baller as well. So they definitely have a heck of a team over there. I don't know about their depth, but I do know that starting lineup is potent. Houston is a fun team to watch. Similar to Iowa State, they're just going to lock you up. One of the best defensive teams that you're going to see in this tournament. They got some really good. I forget the main guy, LJ Cryer. Excuse me, LJ Cryer. He's their really vocal point on offense, and they got a bunch of other good dudes. Roberts, who's defensive. Yep. Milos Uzman. So yeah, Uzan. Excuse me. So yeah, they got a bunch of upperclassmen, as they always do. Ballers, fun to watch if you like defense. Florida, again, they got the 3-headed guards, Martin, Clayton, and I can't remember the other one, but those dudes are balling. And then they got the big Rondon or whatever his name is. He's super good. And then Tyler Bow as well, or Baugh, whatever his name is. So they just have a ton of depth. Super, super good. Apologies with the names. So many players out here just trying to keep up with it. But been watching them for a while, and Clayton is one of the better scorers in this tournament. He's super fun to watch, and when he gets hot from three, Florida, for me, is one of my favorite teams to watch in terms of pointing this out. Maryland, I think, has a really nice little duo of Julian Reese and Derek Queen. Derek Queen is a freshman who's definitely going to be a lottery pick next year. And Julian Reese is one of these upperclassmen who's just a beast. So, again, if you like bigs, you like rebounding, you like scoring from those positions, they are good to watch. Tennessee is fun to watch in terms of – fun to watch. I'm going to stop saying that. Tennessee is another one of these really good teams, because fun to watch is all objective. But Zakai Ziegler is one of these guys who just – when you have a good point guard, you got a shot.
Right. Especially when it comes to the tournament.
Yes. And then they have Lanier, who's their best scorer. So those dudes, you can't overlook them at all. Purdue, they got
done after this.
They got Braden Smith, who's always fun to watch, but I don't think they have the right roster this year. And then Gonzaga, I think it sucks because they're actually on a side where they're going to face a 1 pretty quick because they're an 8.
They're
but I actually think
Houston next.
Exactly, but I actually think weirdly That could be an upset. I think Gonzaga is super lowly seeded. I think they're way better than their seed says. But they got to put it together in the tournament. But showing how they demolished Georgia, I think that they're close to where they were in preseason form. And when they were starting off the season, I mean, they were ranked top 5. So could be a dangerous team. And then Alameda, like my boy said, Mark Sears is just Alabama. Alabama is really fun to watch with Mark Sears. Those dudes are just. They got Nelson as well.
They're about to scrape St. Mary's.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
Aiden Holloway, Nelson, all those dudes. They're just super athletic. Just a really fun team. And then Sears is like good for dub every game.
Shouts out to BYU though.
Yeah.
AJ DeBonce's team next year.
Yeah,
they're showing out.
And they got Igor Demon, who's like their top pick for this year. It's kind of like little Josh Giddey-ish as well. Like not a lot of shots.
Is he like 6'8"?
Yeah, 6'8", runs a point guard. And he really, to me, it's funny because he kind of has like he kind of reminds me of like a mini point guard oriented. What's the dude's name? We changed his name to Freedom. Enes Kanter.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like he has that kind of build, but his
crazy.
But his mobility, it's crazy. You should definitely look him up. It's very interesting. When he goes off, he goes off.
Alperen Sengun style.
Yes, yes. But he's like 6'8", and he's running point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So yeah, he's fun to watch, and they're a defensive-minded team.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course Duke would be the last team that I would say. I'll shout out Baylor for VJ Edgecombe.
Yeah.
If you like athleticism, that's probably the most athletic guy in this tournament. And I guarantee he already had one in the game today. That was like it's going to be a highlight that he missed. But I guarantee in this tournament before he gets out of here, probably in this Duke game, he'll have a highlight that makes you go like this. So if you like athleticism, great to check out. And then like my boy said, Cooper Flagg, Duke, that team, arguably could also be the number 1 seed alongside Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
They are just nasty. They are ready, and they normally perform.
Who's their guard?
Really
What's
well.
the guard's name?
Kneppel or whatever, or
no,
Proctor.
They have Kneppel, but
Proctor,
Tyrese Proctor. There it is. He's been killing it too.
Mm-hmm. And then they got that big dude Malak.
Yeah,
Malak. So that rounds it out. I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but I wanted to give you guys a pretty good overview there. Definitely, obviously, check it out.
Yeah,
it's just a good time to be watching sports, especially at these times when there's so many games. It's like 9 to 7 at night.
Yeah, nonstop.
Just cooking. And then the rounds are only going to get more interesting as the games dwindle down. So make sure you check that out, and we'll keep you all updated as the tournament keeps going. And then Women's March Madness, we're not going to jump into anything other than shouting out Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers. Or Bukers, I don't know exactly. It's Beckers, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah Hidalgo, Lauren Betts, Anisha Morrow.
Nasty.
Yeah. Madison Booker. Olivia Miles just got injured today, sadly. But Kiki Arifin and Sarah Strong, as well as Georgia Amore. Those are going to be 10 players we're going to shout out to y'all real quick to take a look at in the tournament. All those are true ballers. And just like the other tournament, tons of upsets, tons of excitement going on over there, so check it out as well. Moving on to the NFL. Start off with the Raiders. Man. We got big news with the Raiders. Obviously, as we always do, we let Mitch cook when it comes to the Raiders. So why don't you take us on in with the news?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit of a while now in terms of how we get daily news all the time.
Yep.
But the Raiders went out and got Geno Smith. Pete Carroll said, I need my guy from Seattle. Bring him on over. Don't need DK, but I can use this guy who throws it to him.
Right.
To me, I'm seeing all these other quarterbacks go away in free agency to other teams, so I'm assuming they just didn't want to come to the Raiders because we gave away stuff for a quarterback where the team that traded him away actually just signed Sam Darnold,
right,
which is what we could have done. They clearly don't see the difference between the two. So it's just a little interesting of choice. I'm not mad at it. Like Geno Smith is a solid quarterback. He's definitely closer to a Gardner Minshew, in my opinion, than he is to Josh Allen or something like
Daniels.
that. Or like Jaden Daniels. Still like I don't know. it's a cool move, but it doesn't seem that much better than what we've had in the past and what we did last season. It seems kind of like we made an F decision last year. We're going to make like a C minus decision this time. Because it doesn't, I mean, unless we start making a lot more moves, maybe we'll start doing that once the NFL draft goes by. But it doesn't seem like we're in the free agent pool at all, like vying for anybody. There's no news that pops up on ESPN, CBS, Fox News, Sports News. Like none of the networks or outlets are saying the Raiders are top prospect or top pick in the free agency. Everybody's thinking about no. Like we have lots of money and we have Geno Smith now. I don't know how deep the running back pool is for free agency, but that's gonna go quick. I just gotta hope the dominoes all start to fall once the draft goes by, because right now seems like we're taking like option B instead of like it seems like option A is being like, nah, no thanks. So we just all right, well we'll just settle for this, and that's not what the Raiders need right now. I mean, it's been too many years of an abysmal team to not be trying to make splash moves. You've been making these kind of moves for so long that you got to understand that it's not really working. You know, you've made the playoffs like 2 or 3 times in the last 20 years,
Right?
Or since the millennium. Like the 2000s have not been good to the Raiders, and we have not made very big splashes. We've gotten individual players, like one by one per year, that if they're playing with a bunch of whack players, it just shows that you can't win with that, even if you have the great player. So we need to get a whole collection of guys and kind of just let's try this for 2 or 3 years and throw a bunch of money out there, because what do we really have to lose? We've been losing for just as long as like the Browns and the Jets and like any of the other bad teams that are been in the NFL for the last 20 years. This doesn't really move the meter all that much. Hopefully, he can build a good rapport with who's there, and hopefully, this means like maybe he's the person that we want to guide the quarterback that we potentially draft this season. Because this doesn't seem like a long-term type move, and we definitely want that for the position of quarterback,
Right,
for any franchise. So to kind of just be picking and choosing random guys who, without being disrespectful, would probably just be backups if there was a solid quarterback on the team. It doesn't really make a difference for the Raiders, because we're not even a good enough team to allow us to have mediocre players on our team, especially at that position. So
a premium position.
Yeah. Raiders, I want to see some more happening, but as of right now, I'm not poo-pooing the move. At least he did something, because we didn't have anything at quarterback.
Nothing.
So it's better than nothing. That's what you get. Draft day can't come soon enough.
Right. Get here now.
Let's make some things happen. Let's be exciting. Let's be a team to be talked about during the offseason, instead of just a team like, yeesh.
Right.
Yeesh, these guys. God, we got to talk about these guys. Yeah, I guess they got a good punt and kick team.
Right. Special teams always
Special teams always good for the Raiders.
But like a 3rd round pick is steep too. Like,
yeah.
It's not like that's so but he is a 2-time Pro Bowler, like a recent 2-time Pro Bowler. But
right.
Yeah,
But that seems more like quantity rather than quality.
Yes.
It's like if you're just gonna throw it every time, not gonna. Even Jameis Winston can throw for like 5,000 yards if you just let him throw it 50 times a game. And that's kind of how it was with Seattle a lot of the time.
Yeah, 100%.
It was just like throw it.
Yep.
Let it go. Run around the pocket, which is good for the Raiders. They need somebody who can, get their time outside of the pocket, because it breaks down pretty quick. If somebody can move around and make moves with their feet and make throws moving, that's better than what we had.
100%. So in this situation with the 6th pick, if you have an opportunity to get a wide receiver one, let's say T-Mac or whatever the guy, right?
Yeah.
Or Shador's on the board, what are you doing?
Man, it's a toss-up of if I'm thinking about the next couple of years, or if I'm thinking more like I need my 15-year franchise guy. I think maybe Cam Ward might be the only guy who has like the talent, the physical talents that could make him a guy who could be a potential franchise quarterback. The other guys are more projects, in my opinion. So it'd be more of a toss up. Not saying they couldn't. They definitely could end up being Hall of Fame players. You never know.
Right.
But just from what we've seen and what we've been hearing, it's like there's not a lot of excitement. There was before, during the season, and a lot of beginning of the year, even for college football, there was a lot of hype behind these guys. But now that they're about to be professionals and no longer in the amateur game, people are starting to pick at their flaws, and it's a whole different game once you get to the NFL. So we'll see if they can actually produce when they get there. And if we get somebody like Shedeur Sanders, it'd be about, all right, how can we ease him into the situation and not just throw him into the fire, especially if he needs a lot of things to improve on. So I say if we're going to go with the 6th pick, man, it's tough because I feel like Genty is going to go early, but it's tough to be like, yeah, he's going to carry us for to rely on that pick like that much.
Right.
Would be tough. Would be a tough position, especially with a line that's not the best out there. But that would just be exciting to get a player like that.
Yes. Yes.
Trade
back?
Yeah, maybe trade back.
As long as you stay ahead of the Cowboys, I think it's because that's pretty much what people are saying is that I think the Cowboys are 11.
Right.
And it's as long as you stay ahead of them.
If that's what it is and we want to go for Shedeur Sanders, then keep the pick. If he falls to us, take him. Just do what you got to do. Fill the position that's the most important in the NFL, and something that we've lacked for so long. And then we can try and work in some free agents and stuff at running back and fill in with offensive line and the rest of the draft with skill position players and offensive linemen. But I think defense is what we're going to focus on towards the back half of the draft personally. So I think we're going to stand packed with that 6th pick. I think we're going to hope that Shedeur falls to us. But just like in the previous year when we didn't get Michael Penix, it seemed like we just
hit the
it's a good thing that it was Brock Bowers.
Of course.
That was the person that was there, and that was a great decision. There's plenty of times we could have went for this offensive lineman from Penn that nobody had heard of, or Cleveland Farrell from Clemson that nobody was talking about. Or even
what's the other guy, Tyrone Smith?
Yeah, Tyrone.
It's just
so just go with something that makes sense. At the end of the day, if it's just the best available player, that'll work too. It's worked for us the last couple of seasons. So just don't overthink it, man. If you want a quarterback, take it. If not, best available player, because at that point in the draft, it's kind of just hoping that whoever you pick at that point can end up being a Pro Bowl type player.
Right. And who in Raiderland would be mad at the quarterback room all of a sudden becoming a strength? Right. Like you have Geno and Shedeur. It's quarterbacks do tend to make receivers better than receivers make quarterbacks.
It would be the first time in a while that our quarterback room would have expectations. It's there's something to talk about. Why isn't he producing? Is 100%. He going to be somebody who can 100%. Take this team to the next level? 100%. So it'll build some drama, build just some excitement for the Raiders rather than just they have that guy. He's not exciting to talk about. And yeah, they're the same old Raiders.
Real comp and real, there's real knowledge to be passed as well in that relationship. So, yeah, definitely.
So with the Niners, man.
We got a lot to talk about, guys.
Niner dog commercial.
Man. Yeah, man.
Everybody.
We got a lot to talk about, man. For those of you who know football, when you're making a turnaround or if you go on a long run, there's always prices to pay.
Yeah, please educate my Raider fans in the podcast.
So obviously we're one of the few organizations that over the last 5 years have pretty much been run it back and adding on to the run it back. Take everybody that we've already had and we're going to get a couple more key free agents and add it to that pool of players. And that has, been obviously a winning formula. We've done a lot of winning, but we haven't gotten over the hump. No Super Bowls. And when you're spending like that, that's all that matters, right? Once you're at that level, it's Super Bowl or bust. And we were in that window for 3 years where, pretty much ever since we got C-Mac, it was like, all right, we're spending it until we win.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, we were one of the oldest teams in the league last year and the most expensive. And when you look at that, you got to see that there's players who are vastly overpaid because those two things shouldn't line up. Like, you shouldn't be the oldest and the most overpaid. That just doesn't work well, right? And especially in the NFL, which is a true young man's game.
Yeah, for real.
And so, you can look around. A great example of this is, well, first and foremost, let me just say what's happened before I get too far out ahead of myself. The Niners have cut a bunch of players, and we've also lost several players.
Yeah.
And we're talking not just players, we're talking starters to free agency. I can name some. Javon Hargraves got cut. Greenlaw signed with the Broncos. Hufanga signed with the Broncos. Travarius Ward signed with the Colts. Malik Collins got released. Malcolm Floyd got released. Leonard Floyd. Sorry, Leonard Floyd got released.
Mason to the Vikings.
Jordan Mason got traded. Kyle Juszczyk got cut, and then we re-signed him, which was great because he's so valuable to us. But like, if you're not like into the behind the scenes stuff, you wouldn't know that we've been accumulating compensation picks for years, and we have the most picks in the draft this year and next year. We have 11, so that's pretty much maxed out. And we have this year 6 in the first 4 rounds, that's a lot. First 4 rounds is high-end talent. So there's a lot of holes that we can fill. And if you look at another team in our division who's very closely tied to us in a lot of ways due to coaching, the Rams.
Yeah.
They proved after doing their Super Bowl run where they actually got one, but they spent and had the same situation where they ended up turning into the oldest team in the league. They ended up turning into one of the highest paid payrolls in the league as well. They went through that last offseason.
Yeah.
They got rid of Aaron Donald, retired. They got rid of Ramsey in the middle of the season last year. It wasn't even last year. It was the year prior to that. And then pretty much all of their Floyd, also Leonard Floyd, who came over to us, all these dudes were over there. Bobby Wagner. They had a bunch of dudes, and they let go of everybody.
Right.
And they got a bunch of picks back, but they also had a bunch of compensation picks built up towards this draft. And so they recognized that, got out ahead of it, cleared their books, retooled, got a lot younger, and they made the playoffs last year with a very, very young and upstart roster that's going to be nice and dynamic this year. And now they've been able to clear books. They have a huge amount of payroll to play with, and they've been out. They went and splashed and got D. Adams.
Yep.
They've been outspending. They've been retooling that roster that already made the playoffs last year. And so we have an even more
Cooper Kupp out of there.
Exactly. We have an even more kind of straight line path to that. Now, this does put a lot of pressure on us to hit in these drafts. And that's the only scary part, is that they did nothing. And so they are saying that we are going to hit. And I think that they are also very lucky that they had so many hits last year. And I think that they're leaning in on that and going, okay, we found something in terms of how we're scouting, in terms of what we're looking for, because they found 4 starters out of last year's draft. And I think the expectation is that they plan to do about the same this year and about the same next year. And if that's the case, then you're looking at least one side of the ball, or a good portion of both sides of the ball, filled out with rookie contracts.
Right.
And when that's the case, free agency is a breeze. And it's nothing to have a QB with a larger contract on your table once you're doing that. So I hope y'all are still listening, because I say that all of the losses, including, I didn't even mention Debo, but I think I have before on the previous show. So I don't need to throw him back in there. But Debo's also in there, got traded. We got a 5th for that, though, and he was going to get cut. So, the reality is, got a great deal out of that to get something. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we got the right deal, if they shake off Ayuk, just because I think, and if that's the case, then don't be surprised if T-Mac falls to us, because there's a lot of just weird stuff going on with the draft. But I've heard stuff where if T-Mac ends up falling to us, it'd be hard for us to overlook taking that, just because we don't even have an X on our team. And because we have so many other picks in the first 4 rounds that we could then hit the trenches from there and go real offensive line, defensive line. But I'm very eager to see how the draft plays out because obviously, like I just said, I actually think this is good for the team. I know probably you guys aren't ready to hear that, and a lot of these are players that are near and dear to my heart. But, I never was really too much fazed by it just because even on previous shows I had said there's big change coming.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if the majority of these players don't see the summer, and they didn't see the summer. And so, the one player that I will say I was sad about that we talked about in the group chat is Dre Greenlaw. We did try to sign him, no doubt. And we even last minute tried to hijack the deal. So I'm assuming we matched it because you don't hijack a deal and come with less money. And it just still didn't work. He just still chose to dip. And that is a dude to me who like it really makes our defense go. He's a one on every other team, and that's why he left. He really wants to be a one. He doesn't want to play under Warner, and I don't blame him in that context. Good luck to you. He has one of the best engines I've ever seen out there, but he's injury prone, and so sometimes people can bite off a little more than they can chew. And we'll see. I know he has the talent to do so, but playing those reps, doing what Fred said, you could have asked Jordan Mason about how he felt about C-Mac last year when he was having to take all those totes, carry that rock. He's coming up to him after the game. I don't know how you do this. So I wouldn't be surprised if we run NDR this year and there's a little bit of that handed off to Fred Warner. Whoa. But yeah, but you're a baller and they're going to get Hufanga. So what I can tell you right now is, Broncos already have good coverage. They're going to hit a lot harder this year. Both those guys,
West, baby.
Both of those guys are not the greatest in coverage. But when you talk about dudes that will injure you in the modern game, not illegally, but like they're coming for you, those two dudes, it's exactly why they got him, and a guy like Somethin is going to be pumped.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm just lightly guarding now. Like we have, okay, good. So anyway, that's really the overview. To me, again, I was really sad about Juszczyk. I thought we lost him. It was just like,
That'd
man,
tough.
Because, at that point, we're really changing the way we're going to scheme things. Like that was my first thought is like, okay, well, who becomes that role?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of other guys that can become these other roles, but who becomes that? And we're not going to draft that. So I'm really excited we got that worked out. And I think that if you're asking me why we're getting that set up beyond clearing the books, because we have the most dead money next year. We're paying, I think it's somewhere around $91 million in dead money. And if you don't know what dead money is when you're paying a guy who's not on the roster. Okay? But the reason they do that is because contractually, the year after that, everything is cleared, right? And so a lot of these contracts would be dead money for way longer than a year the way we're looking at the player. Like he might not be a starter, whatever, he's getting overpaid, whatever the case is. So we're really setting it up to where if we're planning to have all these rookies coming in, then by the time next free agency comes around, we're going to be in a position where we can go for anybody and we can build with Purdy in that way. And we still have a ton of talent that's on the roster. It's not like we're a bare bones team, in terms of this situation. So I think that if you want to talk about longevity, you want to talk about seeing the Niners being good over the long haul, I don't know how you as a fan base wouldn't see this day coming at some point. And football changes quick. And so you got to stomach that. That's one of the hardest things for me about watching football was realizing that as a kid is that, like, these teams don't last long. It's not basketball. It's not some of these other sports where when they're really good, they might stick around for 7-8 years. You might no. These are 4-year windows, and that's a good window. That's a great window. That means you've really been dominant. So 22 picks in the next 2 years. Be on the lookout for retooling. We just got to hope we hit, man. And I think Brock Purdy's contract is next, and then George Kittle. Be on the lookout for those 2 extensions, and the books have been cleared for that to happen. So on to the last 2 sections we got the MLB season starting. So as always, we let Mitch cook, and then I will close out with a little Champions League update, just like we told y'all. We got y'all.
Yeah, man. We're going to keep it sweet and short out here. The season is upon us. It's it was, I guess, officially opening weekend or opening game series for Tokyo. The Dodgers and the Cubs played 2 games out there in Japan. Had a good time. They also played some teams that are from out there as well. The Dodgers, like I said, came out on top both games, beat the Cubs. Had 5 Japanese-born players playing in that game, which was awesome.
Crazy.
Shohei Ohtani hit a home run during one of the games. Roki Sasaki had a little bit of a tough outing for the Dodgers, but it was his first time pitching for an MLB team. It was exciting. So that's a great start for him.
He got raked.
He got raked. He had a lot of walks, so it was a little rough, but he's going to show out for them. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is another great pitcher for the Dodgers. These guys are also ramping it up, so they weren't going to go a full 9 innings. They only went a few innings this time around. Seiya Suzuki and Shota Imanaga are players for the Cubs. Shota is a pitcher. He did pretty good. He only threw about 4 innings, but a lot of these guys had some issues with getting the ball over the plate, so there was a lot of walks in these games. I guess, a lot of excitement. You're playing all the way in Japan. You had a long flight, a lot of activities going on, so it's hard to really stay focused on these 2 games with all the festivities going on because Japan does it crazy.
Goes up.
They go hard when it comes to entertainment and showing people a good time. And then Seiya Suzuki 0 for 8 didn't show out this time. Sucks for him, but overall it was a good start to the season. Dodgers, defending champions, starting the season off 2-0. Not a surprise with the powerful team they got, and I'm sure the whole crowd was going crazy when Shohei hit his home run. Moving forward to the start of the regular season coming up, we have a lot of injuries that have come up. Garrett Cole out for the season, Tommy John surgery. He's not going to be there for the Yankees, along with Luis Gil. He's going to be out for the beginning of the season. He's got an injury as well. So that's a tough start for the Yankees rotation. Max Fried is really going to have to show out, as well as Carlos Rodon is going to have to show out. So they really – Marcus Stroman is going to be a part of that rotation. So it's looking a little rough. Hopefully they can, keep the ship steady for the beginning of the season. And guys like Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, and the boys can be raking to start the season off. The Dodgers themselves, Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. Freddie Freeman had a rib injury, but he is somebody who's going to be playing moving forward. And then Mookie Betts just caught the flu, unfortunately. Couldn't play in the 2 games, and hopefully he can get started back up soon and be ready for the opening day. Gunnar Henderson is somebody who's been having a lot of issues and can miss the beginning of the season for the Orioles. He's their starting shortstop, great young player. Hopefully he can come back very quick. It doesn't seem like he has a very serious injury, but something that could cause him to miss a week or 2 to start it out. Christian Walker for the Astros, first baseman that they just got, has been having trouble with the oblique injury. Tough to make that swing, so he's been taking hacks in the batting cages, trying to get back. Hopefully he can come back for opening day, but could be somebody who also misses a few weeks, maybe about 8 or 9 games. Ronald Acuna and Spencer Strider. Spencer Strider came back after his elbow injuries from last season and had 6 strikeouts in 2 2/3 innings. He surprised everybody. He's somebody who's going to be flying up your fantasy draft boards because before this last season where he was injured, he was a Cy Young candidate. Always has somebody who's going to give you damn near 200 strikeouts a season. Francisco Alvarez for the Mets. They're a team that's looking to make a big splash now that they have Juan Soto to go along with Pete Alonso and what's his name? Why am I Francisco Lindor? Why did I think Freddie? Francisco Lindor. So they're going to be an exciting team. He's a great young catcher. He's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks with a hand injury, so that's a little damper on their season right there to start off. And then just last but not least, Royce Lewis for the Minnesota Twins. Pulled his hamstring, ran to first base. You know the season's starting if Royce Lewis is getting hurt because Royce Lewis is always getting hurt. My man has not played a full season, more than like 50 games since he's gotten into the league. He's somebody who everybody thought was going to be one of these big ballers at third base, but that injury bug just won't stop biting him. I'll be surprised if this man ever comes back as much as he gets injured. But that's just the quick roundup. Those are guys that are pretty prominent for their teams who could be coming back pretty soon, but have been having, ailing injuries, nagging injuries and stuff like that. So it's going to be an exciting season. Hopefully these guys can come back soon, but opening week coming next week. So be excited, be ready, tune in. There's going to be a lot of good games.
And so pay attention to that as well in fantasies, because sometimes these injuries don't always reflect in the rankings or in the average pick.
Mm-hmm.
So just be careful. Some of us have started early. Some of us. And so they might have Garrett Coles or people like that on their team, which just doesn't feel good. Talk about dead money.
Yeah.
So appreciate that. Obviously, now that it's heating up, he's going to have something for you guys weekly. There'll be just live news as we're going. Baseball is literally daily with tons of games. So
162 of them.
Yeah. So we got a lot coming, and like he said, the season's already here, even though it feels like it's a little early. I thought it always started in April, but in a couple of days here, we're gonna have the full onslaught of games. So Mitch will make sure you're up to date on everything.
Yes, sir.
Lastly, before we close out today, we're always sending love to y'all. We want to give a quick reminder, please comment, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. It just helps with the algorithm. We don't want to spend too much time before we get our professional portion of it done, which will be at the beginning. But we don't like to sit here and harp on it. So take a moment, if you will, press that button. And if you can think of anything in this show today that was either sparking your curiosity or made you have a question or something you'd like to just say to us, feel free to put that down there in the comment section.
Yes.
We'll try to get to as many of those as we can. And always all love to the Say Something fam. So before we close out today, I got the Champions League updates like we promised.
Yes, sir.
Not going to go over the last matchups. I might do that next time when we have a little more time, just to give you guys even more context on how we got here. But for now, I'm just going to give you our quarterfinal matchups. And these are still 2 legs, which means there's 2 games to be played, 1 home and away for each team. And so let's go over these matchups real fast. At this point in the tournaments, you're obviously seeing some goons.
Yes.
You're seeing some real matchups. You're seeing some real ballers. You're going to see some football, as they say. So first, I'm going to go over Bayern and Inter Milan. This is the best Germany has to offer versus, at the time, the best Italy has to offer. This is going to be a grinded-out matchup. This is going to be defensively focused. There's definitely still going to be scoring, but they're going to do it in the same way, which is, they're very much so going to start from the back. And both of these teams are going to use their physicality and they're just good overall poise on the ball to just not make mistakes and try to get the upper hand on each other. So it'll be kind of like watching 2 evenly matched men arm wrestle, or women, however you want to look at it. It might take a while. Next, we have probably my favorite matchup of this entire set of 4. That'd be Arsenal versus Real Madrid.
Yes.
This is going to be what I would say is the opposite of what I just mentioned in Bayern and Inter. This is the best. Not the best, excuse me. This is not the best England has to offer. I don't care what and I know my boy Khan, he might watch this and be like, throwing a little smut on my name. But Arsenal, you are not the best in England, regardless of what's going on.
Sorry.
But you guys are super talented, very, very good, well-rounded team. And you guys can score a lot. And so I just can't wait to see you guys have the clash with Real Madrid. Obviously, a team that my boys are very familiar with. Our arch nemesis and the people we've been able to actually get the better of this year. But I can't wait to see those 2 clash. And I think it's going to be high scoring. I predict a lot of goals. And if you like futbolistas, people that really get their handle on, that are going to dance out there, this is the matchup for you. This is the matchup for you. Next, we have, to me, the 2 very interesting matchups. I think they're both going to be good, but these are 2 teams that I wouldn't say people were thinking were going to be here. But had kind of interesting schedules to get here as well. Like there wasn't anything necessarily holding them back from getting here either. But that would be Dortmund and Aston Villa, who I'm speaking of, but I will now break down the two matchups. So there's Dortmund and Barcelona, my boys taking on Dortmund. This again is going to be very, very fun to watch. Neither of us play a lot of defense. We are very well trained in our high press, though.
Mhm.
So us not playing a ton of defense doesn't necessarily mean there's not a lot of goals.
Right.
Doesn't mean that there is a lot of goals. Excuse me.
Because goals for you guys though.
But we score a lot, exactly.
Yeah.
But because we play no defense, most teams will be giving up a lot of goals.
Right.
But because our trap is so good, we still are a team that plays well scoreboard wise defensively.
Mm.
But if you learn to break us down, which I don't think Dortmund will, but the thing about Dortmund is they all are X factors. They're all very talented players always, and they always put these youngsters out here who don't really understand the moment, and sometimes that harms them, but sometimes it's a real benefit where they're just fearless. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go down in the first leg because of that. Because of that just weird X factor nature that Dortmund has, and the fact that maybe they break the press early on is where I could see it happening. Because the later we get into it, the more we understand how you're going to build, and the more we're doing better at holding that press. But this team has shown fight Barcelona, and I see us getting by pretty handily versus Dortmund. But regardless, it should be some fun ball. Lots of youngsters. This is the youngest matchup they got to offer out of the four. We're talking major teenage action going on here. So check them out. And then lastly, we have PSG versus Aston Villa.
That's gonna be an exciting one, I think.
PSG is balling right now. PSG moved on from Mbappe and really upgraded.
Got a bunch of Portuguese players.
Those aren't the guys who we're talking about doing the damage, but they do have a bunch of Portuguese players, and they do have a couple of them that, sadly, if we're going to take a quick tangent to Portugal, they play the same position. They play the same thing. They're so good, though. Like Vitinha and Joao Neves, they're both super good. Both do the same exact thing. Same exact thing. And it's just eerie how that happens, where it's just like these generations of Portugal players.
That's literally that's the prototypical player of Portugal.
Yeah.
Is literally the same dude over and over again.
Just
like
reprinted for a
central
generation.
midi. I just run around the whole field at all times.
Yep. And I'm not going to score.
Yeah, I'm not going to score. I'll make a dope ass pass.
I'm not going to score.
Unless I'm Rafa Leao. But everybody else, I'll make you a dope pass.
Yes.
But you want me to score?
Not my job.
Not my job.
Straight up. And then Aston Villa, like we've talked about a couple times on the show, when you're spending
Get that money,
things can change quickly. But I also think this is a team that benefited a lot from their group.
Yeah.
And
Bruges.
from from who they played in the knockout. But like Mitch is saying, it could be a good game. They got attackers. Yeah. Aston Villa has attackers. They're not scared. They play the Premier League, so they play a gauntlet of teams. But PSG did just make it past Liverpool, who is, in my opinion, the best England has to offer. So if there's any true upper hand that was given out due to any of the previous matchups, I believe it's that one that will have the largest impact on the next matchup due to that fact that they took down the champs. I mean, they took down the best. Nobody's doubting that Liverpool is the best that England has to offer right now. And so then to take on a secondary England team, unless they overlook them, they should be able to handle business. They have a heck of a trident up top, and Dembele is playing Ballon d'Or-esque ball, whether I want to say that or not. I would say the Ballon d'Or this year is going to come down to Dembele, Rafinha, and probably Mbappe, just because
the name
they can't not do it in his first year moving there. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see Yamal sneak his name into there as well.
Sure. He's a beast.
He's been going crazy. So that's the matchups. I will have the updates after leg one, no doubt about it. And we will definitely be back next week so that you won't have to wait so long to get this news. We don't want to deprive you. But, say something whenever we get back in here and get it going. It's always a good day. So we want to make sure y'all end it right. Hopefully y'all have a blessed end of your evening tonight. And we will see y'all next week.
Yes, sir.
Peace, love, and happiness.